This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
67 inches, that's the highest total I've seen. Man, it's ugly out here.
Donald J. Trump has received 312 votes.
This sets up the inauguration.
His commitment to Jesus Christ drove him to live a life of integrity.
Rather than trying to throw a family of four a check for $300, we should be bringing down the cost across the board.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Oneida County, New York, still under a state of emergency at this hour because of blowing and drifting snow. Lake effect is no joke there. Some spots got enough snow to cover the top of their front doors.
We've had 67 inches, that's the highest total I've seen coming out of Tabor, Camden nearby. 65 inches of snow in the last several days.
Then there's the storm that New York and Pennsylvania dodged. 6 states are under states of emergency due to a massive winter storm below us. Heavy snow and ice are creating hazardous travel conditions, flight cancellations, and power outages for 60 million people from Illinois to New Jersey.
Man, it's ugly out here. Real ugly.
An inch of ice for Kansas City and 5 inches of snow on the ground for Baltimore.
This is the worst that I've seen it probably in about almost 15 years.
The roads are in tough shape. It's a lot, and it's hoping people are staying safe for sure.
250,000 people have no power to the south. Behind that storm, cold is on the way for all of us.
The colder air behind this is getting the big story. Tomorrow's morning lows in Kansas City will be 1 degree with a wind chill of -6. It won't quite get that bad in the east, but safe to say whatever does fall here is going to stick around until further notice. We're in it now.
Our high for Wednesday in New York and Pennsylvania, 18 degrees. A little irony on Capitol Hill this afternoon. Vice President Kamala Harris just certified Donald Trump's win in the November 2024 presidential election.
Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
It is typical that the vice president certify the election, but unusual for the VP to announce her own defeat. In fact, only 3 times in U.S. history has a sitting vice president had to announce that they lost a presidential election. Nixon, Gore, and now Harris. Trump's path now clear to the White House, January 20th.
It's the final certification, and this sets up the inauguration.
To the north, President-elect Trump's lawyers have asked a judge to pause Friday's scheduled sentencing in the New York City hush money case. Legal analyst Lori Levinson.
The Court of Appeal will basically have to decide whether they put on halt any sentencing of Trump before he takes the oath of office again, or whether they say to the lower court, do the sentencing. You said there would be no prison time, and we'll work out whether there were any irregularities in his conviction after that.
Andy McCarthy is a Fox News contributor.
The only reason they're doing this is they want to brand Trump a convicted felon. There's no other law enforcement or judicial reason for it. He's already said that he's not going to sentence him to any jail time or even any probation. This isn't a law enforcement or judicial thing.
President Biden is in Louisiana at this hour to meet with families of the victims of the terror attack in New Orleans. Nicole Parker is a former FBI agent.
I'm glad that he is doing that. It's absolutely appropriate. But sadly, these terrorist attacks, I hate to say it, but we have had an open border. And I believe that the FBI has taken their eye off of the ball for the last several years, completely focused on things such as the January 6th Capitol violence, white supremacy, the diversity, equity, and inclusion push that they have.
She says the FBI has to focus to prevent future homegrown attacks.
It is now the time for the FBI to put all resources and efforts possible back into the foreign terrorist organization groups. This never should have happened.
Biden attending a memorial service to grieve with those families. A leadership change is coming in Canada. Prime Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will step down as Liberal Party leader, but will stay on until a successor is picked.
Not unlike the U.S. primaries, the Canadian leadership process is also long and can get really ugly.
Trudeau ousted by his own party. He's been Prime Minister for 9 years. Former President Jimmy Carter is lying in repose at the Carter Center in Georgia's capital until tomorrow, when he'll be transported to Washington, D.C. for his funeral. The Reverend Samuel Rodriguez with the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference says a key part of Carter's legacy will be his overt Christian faith.
The lasting legacy of President Jimmy Carter is that his commitment to Jesus Christ drove him to live a life of integrity, humility, and compassion, to change the world around him, to care for our neighbors, to love God and to love those around us, even those we disagree with.
Carter's national funeral is Thursday in Washington, D.C. And this is a significant day on the Christian calendar. Family Life's Mark Webster has the history of Epiphany.
Some also call it Three Kings Day, commemorating the wise men of the Bible who traveled afar to see newborn King Jesus, though historically we're not sure if they were kings, nor exactly how many of them there really were. The word Epiphany is from the Greek word for manifestation. In some Eastern cultures, Epiphany is celebrated as Christmas Day instead of December 25th in the West, where Epiphany is more seen as the formal end of the Christmas season. The 12 days of Christmas symbolizes the amount of time it took those however many wise men to make their way to Bethlehem. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Hey, maybe we get another day off work, right? Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, helping the homeless with temperatures this low, Hochul to talk cell phones in schools, and Pennsylvania just named one of the best states to raise a family. We'll tell you why after weather with Kevin Williams.
We'll find cold Arctic air in play the next couple of days, and that'll mean we return our focus to the lake effect. Here are the details. Rather cloudy with snow flurries and local lake snow, an inch or two in spots southeast of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Low temperatures in the teens. Tuesday, Wednesday, away from lake effect, variable clouds and sun with a few flurries. But in lake effect, favoring areas southeast of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, there'll be a few more inches of snow accumulating there. High temps Tuesday, 20s. High temperatures Wednesday, only in the teens to near 20.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories, making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Our lead story is still that lake effect snow with more than 60 inches on the ground in Oneida County. Officials there saying no unnecessary travel. These Rome residents spent the entire weekend digging out.
It's really crazy. I didn't expect it at all. It hit us out of nowhere, and I really hate shoveling.
Horrible. We got at least 4.5 feet in the last few days.
It's a little rough. My friend just got stuck in my alley, so my dad had to tow her out. But it's part of living here, so I'm used to it.
The snow and cold present a challenge to low-income households that struggle to afford winter clothing. That's where Jackie Blight comes in. She's collecting donations at a public library in Syracuse to distribute to the less fortunate.
We're getting blizzards and winter storms and polar vortexes and things, so anything that we can help prepare these families for the frigid weather of whatever may come throughout the season, and it's only January.
She says it's expensive to buy clothing, especially winter clothing.
The need is high. I mean, we have a very large population of homelessness, particularly family homelessness, child poverty. So we really want to make sure that those families feel as supported as possible. Clothes are expensive, even going to places like Walmart or Target.
Her library hosted a clothing giveaway last week. More clothing drives are planned in the coming weeks in the Salt City. New York Governor Kathy Hochul takes the wraps off her fourth State of the State speech next week in Albany on Tuesday, January 14th. Political pundit Chantel Smith.
It's a matter of, can the governor wield the support from the legislature to get the things that she wants done, especially since this is going to be a non-legislative election year, and the state legislators generally do more legislative action and flex their muscles on non-election years.
The governor's speech will focus on ways to make New York more affordable. She'll also have something to say about a statewide cell phone ban at school. Republican state senators are opposing the New York governor's plan to send checks to New York State taxpayers this year as a one-time rebate. Jamestown area Senator George Borrello says state government would do better to fix the root causes of inflation.
So rather than trying to throw a family of four a check for $300, saying that somehow is going to help them, we should be bringing down the cost across the board by revoking and rescinding all these bad policies, energy policies, tax policies.
Varello tells Family Life News that the money that Hochul wants to send out is not a surplus, but actually should go to make up for fraud in the state unemployment insurance fund.
They estimate it to be around $11 billion, which, by the way, is coincidentally the original deficit in the unemployment insurance fund. That's funded by every employer, every employee who pays taxes.
Varello says employees and private sector businesses in New York would have a better economic outlook if federal COVID money had gone to bolster the unemployment fund. Pennsylvania was just named one of the best states to raise a family in 2025. According to a new report from Consumer Affairs, the state earned high marks for education, public safety, and health care, PA ranking 5th nationwide for the best schools and in the top 10 for safety and medical coverage. And the Pennsylvania Farm Show is underway at the Farm Show Complex in Harrisburg. It is the largest indoor agricultural expo anywhere in America. Westmoreland County beef farmer Michael Andre.
We like to see people getting in touch with where their food comes from. I think it's very important that they realize that and don't take it for granted.
There are over 50,000 farms in operation right now in Pennsylvania. The state's agriculture industry employs nearly 600,000 people, about 1 in every 10 jobs. The farm show runs through Saturday, January 11th. Time next for tonight's market report, brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Wall Street is closing mixed to start another shortened trading week. At the final bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 25 points to 42,706. The S&P 500 rose 33 points to 59.75, and the Nasdaq climbed 243 points to 19,865. Faithward Advisors is a Christian financial planning firm online at faithwardadvisors.com.
Unless you live in the Deep South, you're feeling winter's icy grip. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Here are some ways to reduce your winter heating bills and save some cash. First, contact your utility for a free energy audit to discover where heat might be escaping. Then, add weather stripping or insulation where needed. Next, lower your thermostat to no more than 70 degrees, 68 if you can manage it. You can still stay warm by wearing a sweater. That's why they invented them. And close the heating vents in rooms you don't use. Also, consider installing a programmable thermostat. It'll work 24/7 to keep your energy costs down by lowering the temperature when you're out or asleep. These ideas will pay off quickly in lower heating bills. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, how far are you willing to travel at 94 years old? A beautiful story of a grandmother and her grandson next.
Well, whether it's the Arctic cold, the intense lake effect snows, or the Mid-Atlantic snow and ice storm, we certainly are very much in the midst of a wintry pattern, one that'll carry us through the foreseeable future, which will mean through the weekend into next week. Our call for tonight is mainly cloudy. There'll be flurries for many, and lake effect snow southeast of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario could be a couple inches in those areas. Low temps in the teens generally. Tomorrow and Wednesday, areas of lake snow and flurries and cold. High temps, 20s tomorrow, teens to near 20 on Wednesday.
Thank you, Kevin. Finally, at 5, it is never too late for a big adventure. 94-year-old Joy Ryan has been going on trips with her adult grandson for 10 years.
I never expected to be traveling the world anywhere. I figured I just be on the front porch crocheting and talking to the neighbors.
She's got the best travel buddy possible.
My grandma's relationship with me means everything. You made this huge journey with me, and I love you.
I love you too.
Grandma Joy spent the first 90 years of her life without a U.S. passport, but a decade ago, her grandson Brad had an idea.
She just kind of casually said, I never saw a mountain. I wanted to have that sense of closure that I took her to see her first mountain.
He just called me up and said, Grandma, would you like to go on a camping trip? And I wasn't doing anything.
The first visit turned into their first quest, seeing all 63 national parks together.
Good gravy.
That trip complete. Now she's got a new goal to visit all 7 continents. So far, she's seen 4 of them. Trips have been about so much more, though, than the destination.
It's been the greatest privilege of my life to show her the world.
He's such an amazing person. I wouldn't trade him for anything.
The love of a grandson for his grandma, Joy. And that's the world that we live in for Monday, the 6th of January. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.